I am completely overwhelmed. If my son and daughter were watching, they would say, here's a woman they've probably seen cry once a year. It's usually when it involves some dog in a movie, so I'm going to be strong tonight. Thank you so much. I am so honored to be here. I can't tell you, of all the things that have gone on in the last 2 years since I took this position, there is nowhere else in the world I'd rather be than here tonight. So thank you for this honor, really. And to be introduced, thank you. To be introduced by someone like Lisa, she epitomizes everything that HSF represents and the Latino community represents. You know, growing up one of 9, as you heard, this theme of no one walks alone still rings with me today. There is no way that anyone can be a success without someone else. And I've been very, very blessed to have many, many angels around me, and certainly Lisa was one of them. So thank you, Lisa, for your inspiration and for your friendship that endures to this day. You know, it's interesting, someone mentioned about all parents want their Latino kids to go to college. Interestingly enough, I'll tell you the story of when I first received that acceptance letter. So I only applied to 3 colleges, to Berkeley, to Stanford, and to Harvard. That's how confident I was. And I remember I was the only, the 5 siblings who preceded me, all of them went to California colleges. And so this was a big step. We were very, very close, a year apart. And they were my life. They are my life. And so I remember the day, back then, you know, everything came by snail mail, and I remember the day it was going to arrive, and I run home from school, and I run into the house, and I hear my mom crying. And of course, my first thought is, oh my God, I didn't get in. And so I run into the kitchen, and of course, she has the big old packet open, and she's bawling, and I said, Mom, but I'm reading it, Mom, I got in. She says, I know. So she was very, very upset that I was leaving, but of course, very, very encouraging, and to this day remains one of my best friends whom I talk to, and I still rely on at least 2 or 3 times a week. And so for me, as I mentioned, no one walks alone. It really is a matter of recognizing our past and those who really built this road for us. And for me and for all my siblings, it was my mom. And specifically, I want to send a message out to all the Latinas. I have a 15-year-old son, but I do have an 11-year-old daughter. And for me, it is for my mom and for my daughter that I do what I do. Ooh. Be strong. 11 years old, and she is going to rule the world, no doubt in my mind. I'll tell you one of my favorite stories, true story. So when I was getting sworn in, Melissa was there at my swearing-in ceremony when Secretary Geithner, who was my boss, was swearing me in. And I remember Brookie looking at the program, and she comes over to me and she says, why is your secretary swearing you in? And I gasped, oh my gosh, she thinks he's my admin, oh my gosh. And so, to this day, I have not told her the truth, actually. So, true story, absolutely true story. But also to my sisters, you know, the last time I was in the Plaza Hotel was with my 5 sisters, and this is where we stayed for our sister trip, our big sister trip, which we did annually to New York, and so it's just so, it's just such a coincidence that I'm back here tonight, and it was just like old times having 6 girls in one bedroom. It was just... But, you know, the Hispanic Scholarship Fund really does epitomize what we should be doing to empower our community. I look at this as an investment, really, and human capital, in my opinion, is still the best investment that we can make, no doubt in my mind. And what you are doing is you're planting the seeds for that next generation. You're inspiring so many people to do things that otherwise may not have happened. And so, as I mentioned to Frank earlier, I'm born and raised in San Francisco. Anything that I can do moving forward to support this organization, I absolutely will do. And I just want to send a message to all Latinos. You know, one of the funnest parts of my job is of course getting to meet wonderful people, Main Street people, and also very powerful people. And Latinos, you know, we, as was mentioned earlier, we need to take our place at the table. It's not enough. Whatever it is that we think we've done, it's not enough. And I'll tell you just a fun story. There's a reason why I'm telling you this story. There's actually a meaning behind the second part of the story. So one of the great parts of my job, as I mentioned, is getting to meet just very influential people, wonderful people. And I was invited to the State Department lunch where President Calderon was visiting the White House. And part of his delegation was Carlos Slim. Carlos Slim, of course, is the richest man in the world. He surpassed Bill Gates and Warren Buffett a year and a half ago. I think at that time he was worth 52 million. He's now worth over billion. He's now worth over 70 billion. And so the ambassador of Mexico wanted to introduce me, and so he took me over to President Calderon. I didn't realize I was going to also meet Carlos Slim. And the ambassador of Mexico explained what I did. I oversee the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, where we print all U.S. currency. I oversee the mint, where we produce the coins. I oversee all bullion production in Fort Knox and the official custodian of all U.S. gold. And he turns around, and after I met President Calderon, he introduced me to Mr. Slim. And of course, what do you say to the guy who has everything? What do you say? I had half a second to think, and I turned to Mr. Slim and I said, you know, with all due respect, Mr. Slim, I'm probably the only other person in this world who makes more money than you do. But the reason why I'm telling you that story is the second part, which is, although that was the fun part, the second part was when I was asked in Treasury, so just so you know, talk about very few Latinos, absolutely, but I was also the only woman confirmed in Treasury in all of 2009, so it was very meaningful that I took this position. Yes. But when Treasury asked if I could help putting on something for Hispanic Heritage Month that following September, which was a year ago, absolutely, of course, I was willing to help. And so what I did, that was probably about the May timeframe, I picked up the phone, I called Carlos Slim. He took my phone call right away without hesitation, which surprised me. And I asked him if he would be our keynote speaker in Treasury for Hispanic Heritage Month. And he accepted, of course, and just told me to pick a day. And he would be there, which was fabulous. And so one of the reasons why I picked him was I wanted to demonstrate to the Treasury community that here you have a very successful businessman, the richest man in the world, but also a very powerful man in terms of his business investments, and one of the few people actually thrived in an economic downturn. And by the way, he happened to be Latino. And so when he came to Treasury, it was the first time they had a standing room only event for Hispanic Heritage Month. I mean, people clamoring to get in. It was absolutely wonderful. But the punchline of all that was, when he turned to me, and we had some music intermission, and he turned to me on the stage, and he says, "Did you invite any Latinos to this?" And I said, "Absolutely, all 4 of us are here, don't worry." True. But here in this room, and we've all seen the census data, I just want to make a point very, very clear. Latinos are the future, just in sheer numbers alone, from a consumer perspective, from an electoral perspective, from all perspectives. We are absolutely the future, and as I tell my kids, embrace it, own it, and advance it. And that's our responsibility. We all need to do that. So thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you.